The grand chamber floated in space above the planet Carathis Prime. Inside, representatives from 47 different alien species sat in their designated seats. The room was enormous, built to hold beings of all shapes and sizes. Some delegates breathed oxygen, others methane, and a few did not breathe at all. Special barriers kept each species comfortable in their own environment. Supreme Chancellor Vexarin stood at the center podium. His body was made of living crystal that pulsed with blue and red light. When he felt strong emotions, right now those colors swirled angrily across his transparent form. He had called this emergency session, and every delegate knew something serious had happened. Vexarin raised one crystalline arm, and the chamber fell silent. His voice echoed through translation devices that converted his words into every language present. Honored delegates, we face a crisis unlike any in recent memory. A young species has violated our most sacred laws. They have entered forbidden zones. They have built structures in quarantined space. They have disrupted protected hyperlanes that took our ancestors thousands of years to establish. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The Xinthians clicked their mandibles in disapproval. The Karathi hummed low-frequency sounds of concern. The Velkron, beings of pure energy, flickered with agitation. I speak, of course, of the humans, Vexarin continued. More murmurs. Most species in the chamber had heard of humans. They were a new species, barely noticed by the galactic community. They had only just begun to leave their homeworld. Most species considered them too primitive to worry about. Show us the evidence, demanded Ambassador Threlnok of the Karathi Empire. Her tentacles waved in a pattern that suggested skepticism. Vexarin gestured, and holographic images appeared in the air above the assembly. The images showed human space stations in zones marked with ancient warning beacons, human mining ships extracting resources from asteroids in protected sectors, human probes crossing boundaries that had been established 10,000 years before humans even existed. These violations might be forgiven as the mistakes of an ignorant species, Vexarin said. But look at this. The hologram changed to show a large human military installation. It was being built in a sector of space that had been quarantined for good reason. Ancient weapons from a long-dead civilization lay dormant there. The Council had placed it off-limits to prevent anyone from accidentally awakening those terrible devices. The humans are building a military base directly above the Krelvox cache, Vexarin announced. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted in dozens of languages. The Krelvox cache was legendary. It contained weapons that had destroyed entire solar systems in ancient wars. No sane species would go near it. Surely they do not know what lies below, suggested Ambassador Quintal of the Peaceful Luminary. Ignorance is not an excuse when the stakes are this high, Vexarin replied. We have protocols. We have marked these zones clearly. Any species with basic sensor technology can detect our warning beacons. Yet the humans proceed as if those beacons do not exist. Have we tried to contact them? Asked another delegate. The humans have not reached the threshold for official first contact, Vexarin explained. According to our laws, we must wait until they develop certain technologies before revealing ourselves. But we can wait no longer. They are stumbling blindly through the galaxy, breaking rules they do not know exist and endangering everyone in the process. The debate lasted for hours. Some delegates argued for patience. Others insisted on immediate action. Finally, Vexarin called for a vote. All those in favor of declaring a formal state of war against the human species, to be prosecuted until such time as they cease their violations and accept council authority. One by one, the votes came in. When the final tally was displayed, the result was unanimous. 47 species, representing trillions of beings across thousands of worlds, had agreed. War was declared against humanity. Far away on the third planet orbiting a yellow star, Derek Matthews sat in a coffee shop on 6th Street in Austin, Texas. The morning sun streamed through the windows. The smell of fresh coffee filled the air. Derek had a laptop open in front of him, reviewing quarterly reports for his logistics company. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it and saw a notification from a news app. Breaking: Alien Galactic Council declares war on humanity. Derek raised an eyebrow. He tapped the notification and skimmed the article. It talked about radio signals detected by some observatory, messages decoded by artificial intelligence, and a declaration of war from something called the Galactic Council. Derek chuckled and swiped the notification away. Obviously some kind of marketing stunt. probably for a new video game or streaming series. They were getting creative with their advertising these days. He took a sip of his coffee and returned to his spreadsheet. Quarterly reports were due by Friday, and his boss would not accept "distracted by fake alien invasion" as an excuse. Across town at the University of Texas, Amy Richardson walked between classes with her best friend, Katie. Both were juniors studying biology. Amy scrolled through her phone and stopped. "Oh my God, look at this," she said, showing Katie her screen. Katie read the headline and laughed. "Aliens declaring war? That is so fake. I know, right? But look how detailed it is. They have quotes from supposed alien leaders and everything." "Deep fakes are getting really good," Katie agreed. "I saw one last week where they had the president speaking fluent Mandarin. You could not even tell it was fake. Should we be worried that we cannot tell what is real anymore?" Amy wondered. "Probably," Katie said. "But I have a biology exam in 20 minutes, so I will worry about the collapse of objective truth later." They laughed and headed into the science building. The possibility that the news might actually be true never seriously crossed their minds. High above Earth, the International Space Station orbited peacefully. Commander Jake Morrison floated through the station's main corridor, checking various systems. He had been in space for 3 months now and had another 3 months left in his rotation. An alert chimed on his tablet. "Incoming transmission on an unusual frequency." Jake pulled up the message and read it carefully. It was long and formal, written in slightly awkward English that suggested machine translation. It claimed to be from something called the Galactic Council. It declared that humanity was in violation of various galactic laws. It formally declared a state of war. Jake read through it twice. Then he pulled up the station's communication protocols. The manual was clear. Any transmission that could not be verified through official channels was to be logged, but not escalated. That included the many strange messages they received from people claiming to be psychics, time travelers, or in several memorable cases, the rightful king of Earth. Jake created a new folder in the system labeled Unverified External Communications and saved the message there. He made a note in the log about the transmission's technical details in case anyone wanted to trace it later. Then he moved on to checking the oxygen recycler, which had been making a funny noise that morning. The message from the Galactic Council sat in its folder, filed away and forgotten, back on Carathis Prime. In the council chambers, Admiral Kreltok received his orders. He was a veteran of 12 military campaigns across his long career. His species, the Draxnor, were known as excellent warriors and strategists. His fleet had shattered moons and destroyed entire armadas. "You will take Battle Group 7, Vexarin instructed him. 300 ships. More than enough to handle a primitive species like the humans. When do we depart?" Kreltok asked. "Immediately. The journey to their system will take 6 standard cycles. That should give them time to receive our declaration and understand what is coming. Fear can be as effective as weapons, Admiral." Kreltok bowed. "It will be done, Chancellor." Within hours, 300 warships gathered in formation. They were vessels of incredible power, built by civilizations that had mastered space travel for thousands of years. Their weapons could crack planets. Their shields could withstand the blast of a supernova. They were the pride of the Council's military. The fleet activated their faster-than-light drives and vanished, heading toward a small yellow star where an ignorant species continued about their day, completely unaware that war had been declared upon them. Admiral Kreltok stood before the main view screen on his bridge, staring at Mars. The red planet had several small human settlements visible on the surface. Domed structures housing perhaps a few hundred people total. Mining equipment, research stations. All very primitive. He had made a decision. Before taking any military action against Earth itself, he would issue one final warning. This time he would make it impossible to ignore. The message would be broadcast on every frequency the humans used. It would be translated into all their major languages. It would be clear and unmistakable. "Prepare the final warning message," Kreltok ordered. His communications officer worked quickly. The message was written, translated, and encoded. Within minutes it was ready, broadcasting now. "Admiral," the transmission shot out from the flagship, spreading across all radio frequencies, all satellite channels, every communication method the humans possessed. The message was simple and direct. "Humans of Earth, this is Admiral Kreltok of the Galactic Council Fleet. You stand in violation of galactic law. You have entered forbidden zones. You have built structures in protected space. You have ignored all warnings. Surrender immediately or face complete annihilation. You have one solar rotation to comply. This is your final warning. At the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Communications Officer Katie Morgan was reviewing routine satellite telemetry when every screen in her room suddenly displayed the same message. Audio played from multiple speakers simultaneously. Katie listened to the message, blinked several times, and then called her supervisor. "Hey, Roger, someone is messing with us again. That alien prank thing is back, and this time they have hacked into our system somehow." Roger Newman came over to her station looking annoyed. "That is the 5th time this month. Did you check if it is coming from outside or if someone on the inside is playing a joke? It came through our standard channels, but I think someone spoofed the signal." The message itself is pretty elaborate, though. They are really committed to this alien invasion story. Roger sighed and rubbed his temples. Just log it and forward it to the IT security team. They can figure out how someone got into our systems. I have a meeting in 10 minutes about the Mars launch. Katie created an incident report about the potential security breach and sent it to the appropriate department. The actual content of the message, the warning about destruction and surrender, got filed away as the vehicle for the hack rather than taken seriously as content. The same message was received at hundreds of locations around Earth. Government facilities, military bases, civilian communication centers, amateur radio operators. Everyone got the same message. Most people who heard it assumed it was a prank or a hack. A few conspiracy theorists insisted it was real, but they insisted everything was real, so nobody listened to them. News organizations reported on it as an interesting mystery about who was behind the elaborate hoax. Commander Jake Morrison on the International Space Station received the message and finally decided to take action. He had the previous declaration of war in his files. Now there was a follow-up message, and his tracking data showed large objects near Mars orbit. He called down to Mission Control. "Houston, this is ISS. We need to talk about those alien messages." "Copy that, ISS," came the response. "We are aware of the hack. IT security is investigating." "It might not be a hack," Jake said carefully. "I have been tracking some unusual objects in the system. Large objects, near Mars right now. I think we should at least check if there is something actually out there." There was a pause. "ISS, are you saying you think the alien messages are real?" "I am saying we should verify before dismissing it. Can we get telescope time to look at Mars orbit?" Another pause, longer this time. "Stand by, ISS," Jake waited. He knew how this sounded. But something about the situation bothered him. The messages were too consistent. The tracking data was too clear. What if, however unlikely, it was actually real? After 20 minutes, Houston called back. "ISS, we are going to redirect one of our orbital telescopes to check Mars orbit. Give us an hour." "Thank you, Houston." On Earth, the news media was having a field day with the story. The alien invasion hoax, as most outlets called it, was now trending on social media. Late-night comedy shows made jokes about it. Experts were interviewed who explained why the messages could not possibly be from real aliens. "Look at the language patterns," said one expert on a popular morning show. "The translation is too clean. Real alien communication would be much harder to translate. This is clearly written by humans pretending to be aliens." In Phoenix, George Peters sat in his living room watching the news coverage while eating dinner. His wife, Helen, sat next to him with her own plate. "This alien thing is getting ridiculous," George muttered. "Do people have nothing better to do than create elaborate hoaxes?" "I know," Helen agreed, "though it is kind of creative. Whoever is behind it put a lot of work into it. Too much work. They should get a real job." They finished dinner and moved on to watching their favorite crime drama. The possibility that the alien messages might be real never seriously entered their minds. In homes and offices around the world, billions of humans had similar reactions. Amusement, annoyance, skepticism, but not belief. The warnings were too fantastic. Alien warships in their solar system? A galactic council? It sounded like science fiction. Aboard the Eternal Judgment, Admiral Kreltok waited for a response to his final warning. Surely now the humans would react. He had made his message impossible to miss. Every communication device on their planet would have received it. Hours passed. Kreltok monitored Earth's communication networks through his translation systems. He watched their news programs. He scanned their social media. What he found left him speechless. They thought it was a joke. They were laughing about it. making humorous comments, creating entertainment from his declaration of war. "Admiral," his communications officer said quietly, "they genuinely do not believe we are real." "That is impossible," Kreltok said. "We are 300 ships. We are in their star system. How can they not believe? Their species appears to have significant problems with what they call misinformation. They receive so many false reports and deceptive messages through their communication networks that they have learned to dismiss anything that seems unlikely, and apparently, our existence seems unlikely to them." Kreltok felt a sensation he had rarely experienced in his long military career. He felt insulted. He had fought in battles across 12 sectors. He had commanded fleets that made entire civilizations tremble, and now he was being dismissed as a prank by a species that had barely left their own planet. "Do they at least acknowledge that something is in orbit around Mars?" he asked. "Some of their scientists have detected us, but those reports are being ignored by their government and population." This was absurd. Kreltok pulled up the intelligence files on humanity again and read through them more carefully. What he found explained a lot. Humans had very limited experience with space. They had only reached their own moon a few decades ago. They had no contact with other intelligent species. Their entire frame of reference was limited to their one planet. From their perspective, the idea of 300 alien warships suddenly appearing was so far outside their experience that their minds simply rejected it as impossible. It was easier to believe it was a hoax than to accept such a dramatic change to their understanding of the universe. "They are not being defiant," Kreltok said slowly. "They are genuinely incapable of accepting what is happening." "What are your orders, Admiral?" his tactical officer asked. Kreltok considered his options. He could attack Earth directly. That would certainly get their attention. But the Galactic Council had strict rules about attacking species that had not actually responded to warnings. The goal was to enforce law, not commit genocide. He needed to do something that would be impossible to dismiss, something that would force the humans to acknowledge reality. "Prepare a warning shot," Kreltok ordered. "Target one of the moons of the large gas giant. The small one designated Himalaya. We will destroy it completely. That should be impossible for them to ignore or explain away." His weapons officer looked concerned. "Admiral, destroying a celestial body is a significant escalation. So is ignoring a declaration of war," Kreltok replied. "These humans need to understand that we are real and that we are serious. A moon that is uninhabited will demonstrate our power without costing any lives. Prepare to fire on my command." The weapons systems of the Eternal Judgment powered up. The flagship was equipped with a graviton beam, a weapon capable of tearing apart the fundamental structure of matter. It was designed to destroy heavily armored warships. Against a small moon with no defenses, it would be devastating. "Target locked, Admiral," the weapons officer reported. "Ready to fire." Kreltok took a breath. This was unprecedented. Normally, species surrendered long before it came to destroying celestial bodies. But nothing about this situation was normal. "Fire." The graviton beam shot across space, invisible to normal sensors but devastating in its effect. It struck Himalaya, one of Jupiter's smaller outer moons. The moon was only about 170 kilometers across, a tiny object in cosmic terms. The beam hit, and for a brief moment, the Hubble Space Telescope's successor, the Advanced Space Observatory, was conducting a routine scan of Jupiter's moons when its automated systems detected an unusual energy signature. The computer flagged it immediately and began recording detailed observations. What those observations showed was impossible. Himalaya, one of Jupiter's outer moons, had simply disappeared. One moment it was there. The next moment, nothing but expanding gas and dust. Dr. Patricia Cole was the astronomer on duty when the data came through. She looked at it 3 times, certain there must be an error. Moons did not just vanish. She ran diagnostic tests on the telescope. Everything checked out. The data was accurate. With shaking hands, Patricia picked up her phone and called the observatory director. "Dr. Stevens, we have a situation." "Himalaya is gone." "What do you mean gone?" "I mean it no longer exists." The telescope recorded it being destroyed by some kind of energy beam. The entire moon was vaporized in seconds. There was silence on the other end of the line. Then Dr. Stevens said, "Send me everything. I'm calling an emergency meeting. Do not talk to anyone about this until we understand what happened." Within 2 hours, every major space agency on Earth knew about the destruction of Himalaya. NASA, ESA, the Russian Space Agency, China's space program, and dozens of others all received copies of the data. Scientists analyzed it from every angle. The conclusion was unavoidable. The moon had been destroyed by an artificial weapon. No natural phenomenon could explain what happened. And given the timing, given the messages about alien invasion, the implications were clear. It was real. All of it was real. Emergency meetings were convened at the highest levels of government around the world. In the United States, President Douglas Harper sat in the Situation Room beneath the White House, surrounded by military advisors, the heads of intelligence agencies, and key members of his cabinet. "Explain to me how we missed this," President Harper said quietly. General William Shaw, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, looked uncomfortable. "Sir, we received multiple warnings over the past few weeks. Each one was evaluated and dismissed as either a hoax or a security breach. Our protocols are designed to filter out false information, but in this case, those protocols worked against us. They declared war on us weeks ago," the president said. "They sent a fleet of ships. They gave us warnings, and we thought it was all a joke." "In our defense, sir," offered the Director of National Intelligence, "the claims were extraordinary. We had no prior evidence of alien life. The messages came through channels we normally associate with pranks or cyber attacks. Every decision made sense at the time. And now they have blown up a moon to get our attention," President Harper said. "What are our options?" General Shaw pulled up a display. "Sir, the alien fleet is currently in Mars orbit. We count approximately 300 ships of various sizes. Our analysis suggests they have weapons and defensive capabilities far beyond anything we possess. Can we fight them?" "Not effectively, sir. We have 12 spacecraft in total that could theoretically be used in combat. They were designed for other purposes but have been retrofitted with experimental weapons. Against 300 advanced warships, they would last minutes at best. So we cannot fight and we cannot run." "What about negotiation?" "We are preparing communication protocols now, sir. But we are not sure what they want. Their declaration mentioned violations of galactic law, zones we were not supposed to enter, rules we did not know existed." President Harper rubbed his eyes. "So we are in a war we did not know we started, against an enemy we did not know existed, over laws we had never heard of." "That is an accurate summary, sir." Around the world, other governments were having similar conversations. The situation was the same everywhere. Humanity had stumbled into an interstellar conflict through pure ignorance. The news spread quickly, though getting people to believe it was still a challenge. Even with the destruction of Himalaya as proof, many people remained skeptical. Deepfakes and advanced technology made it hard to trust anything. Conspiracy theories suggested the whole thing was staged by governments for some unknown purpose. But slowly, acceptance grew. The evidence was too strong. The images of the alien fleet were captured by multiple independent sources. Amateur astronomers confirmed the existence of ships in Mars orbit. Scientists verified the destruction of Himalaya. Humanity began to realize they were not alone in the universe, and the beings they were meeting for the first time were not friendly visitors. They were invaders who had come to enforce laws Earth had never heard of. At Space Force headquarters in Colorado, Captain Lisa Brooks received emergency orders. She commanded one of the 12 military spacecraft, a vessel originally designed for satellite maintenance but recently equipped with experimental railguns and missile systems. The orders were simple. Take all combat-capable craft and intercept the alien fleet. Delay them. Give Earth time to prepare defenses or negotiate or evacuate or something. Just buy time. Lisa looked at the orders and then at the briefing documents about the alien fleet. 300 warships with advanced technology against 12 converted maintenance craft. The math was not encouraging. She called her crew together in the briefing room. 12 people who had trained for rescue operations and debris clearing. Now they were being asked to fight a war against aliens. "I'm not going to lie to you," Lisa told them. "This is probably a one-way trip. We are outgunned, outnumbered, and out-teched. But Earth needs time, and we are the only ones who can buy it. Anyone who wants to back out, now is the time." No judgment, nobody moved. Lisa felt pride mixed with sadness. These were good people. They deserved better than to die in a hopeless battle. "All right then," she said. "Let us go make history, even if it is very brief history." The 12 ships launched from various orbital docks and began forming up. They were small craft, designed for utility rather than combat. Next to the alien warships they would face, They would look like insects attacking elephants. Lisa sat in her command chair and opened a channel to her small fleet. All ships, this is Brooks. Set course for Mars orbit. Standard defensive formation. And someone start making a playlist. If we are going to die today, we are going to do it with good music. Despite the situation, several crew members laughed. Lisa smiled. Humor in the face of death. Very human. In cities around the world, people watched the news with mixed emotions. Some believed it and panicked. Others still insisted it was fake. Many were simply confused and frightened. In Detroit, Kevin Ross loaded his family into their minivan. His wife Julie held their 2 young children while Kevin threw suitcases into the back. "Where are we going?" Julie asked. "North. Maybe Canada. If the aliens attack cities, rural areas might be safer." His neighbor, Danny Cook, stood on his porch watching. "You really believe all this alien stuff?" "I believe they blew up a moon," Kevin replied. "That is good enough for me. You should leave too." Danny shook his head. "It is all staged, man. Government trying to distract us from something. I am staying right here." Kevin did not argue. He got in the van and drove north. Behind him, Danny went back inside his house to watch sports on television. Aboard the Eternal Judgment, Admiral Kreltok watched the destruction of Himalaya on his displays. The demonstration had been effective. Now Earth's communication networks were full of panic and acknowledgement. Finally, the humans understood. But then his sensors detected something unexpected. Small craft were leaving Earth orbit and heading in his direction. He pulled up detailed scans, 12 ships. Tiny vessels, barely worth calling military craft. They were armed, but with primitive weapons that could not possibly threaten his fleet. "Are they actually coming to attack us?" asked his tactical officer in disbelief. Kreltok studied the approaching ships. This made no sense tactically. The humans must know they could not win. These 12 craft would be destroyed in seconds if it came to battle. Why send them at all? Open a communication channel to the lead human vessel, Kreltok ordered. "I want to understand what they hope to achieve." His communications officer worked for a moment, then nodded. "Channel open, Admiral." Kreltok spoke clearly. "Human vessels, this is Admiral Kreltok of the Galactic Council Fleet. Why do you approach? You cannot hope to win. Surrender now and your deaths will be swift." There was a pause. Then a human voice replied, female, calm despite the situation. "This is Captain Lisa Brooks of Earth. We are here to defend our home. We know we probably cannot win, but we are going to try anyway. That is what humans do." Kreltok felt something shift in his understanding. These humans knew they were doomed. They came anyway, not because they thought they could win, but because they refused to surrender without trying. In all his years of military service, Kreltok had seen many types of courage. But this was different. This was not the courage of hope. This was the courage of defiance in the face of certain death. "Captain Brooks," Kreltok said slowly, "you truly did not know we were coming, did you? The Council declared war weeks ago. We sent warnings. We entered your system days ago. And you simply did not notice. We thought it was a prank," Lisa admitted. "We get a lot of weird messages from space. Most of them are nonsense." There was a long pause. When Kreltok spoke again, his tone had changed. Admiral Kreltok stood silent on his bridge for a long moment. His crew watched him, waiting for orders to destroy the approaching human ships. But Kreltok found himself hesitating in a way he never had before in combat. "Captain Brooks," he finally said, "I have fought many species across many star systems. I have seen bravery and cowardice, cunning and foolishness. But I have never encountered a species so completely unbothered by the universe around them. You did not notice an invasion fleet. You treated a declaration of war as entertainment. And now knowing you cannot win, you come anyway." "That about covers it," Lisa replied. "So do we fight or do we talk?" Kreltok made a decision that would have shocked the Galactic Council. "I think we need to talk. I am transmitting coordinates for a neutral location. Bring your leaders. The Council needs to reconsider this entire situation." On Earth, President Harper received the unexpected communication. The alien admiral wanted to meet, wanted to talk instead of fight. It was not what anyone had expected, but it was better than the alternative. Within hours, a diplomatic team was assembled. Secretary of State Frank Morris would lead the negotiations. He was joined by Ambassador Claire Wright, a linguistics expert named Dr. Henry Kim, and military advisor Colonel Pete Sanders. They would meet the aliens aboard their flagship. The human delegation took a shuttle up from Earth. It was a tense journey. They were flying toward an alien warship that could destroy their entire planet, but they had no choice. This was humanity's only chance to avoid a war they could not win. The shuttle docked with the Eternal Judgment. The humans stepped out into an airlock that adjusted to their atmospheric needs. Then doors opened, and they saw aliens for the first time. Admiral Kreltok was impressive. He stood over 7 feet tall with scales that shimmered blue and green. His species had evolved from predators, and it showed, but his eyes held intelligence and something that looked like curiosity. "Welcome aboard," Kreltok said through a translation device. "I apologize for the circumstances of our first meeting." "As do we," Frank Morris replied carefully. "Though to be honest, we are still trying to understand what happened." They moved to a conference room designed to accommodate multiple species. The humans sat on one side of a table. Kreltok and 2 of his officers sat on the other. For a moment, both sides just looked at each other. 2 species from different worlds meeting for the first time. "Perhaps we should start at the beginning," Kreltok suggested. "The Galactic Council consists of 47 species. We have laws that govern behavior in space, protect certain zones, and maintain order across thousands of systems. Your species has violated several of these laws." "What laws?" Claire Wright asked. "Nobody told us about any laws." "That is the problem," Kreltok admitted. "The Council has protocols about contacting new species. We are supposed to wait until a civilization reaches certain technological milestones before revealing ourselves. You are being observed but not contacted. So you have invisible rules that we were supposed to somehow know about?" Frank said, his frustration showing. "That does not seem fair." "The rules are not invisible," Kreltok replied. "Protected zones are marked with warning beacons. Any species with basic sensor technology can detect them." Dr. Kim spoke up. "Can you show us one of these beacons?" "Maybe we were using the wrong frequencies or something." Kreltok signaled to his technical officer, who brought up a display. It showed the specifications for Council warning beacons. The human studied it carefully. "Oh," Dr. Kim said quietly. "We would have interpreted that as natural radiation. We had no reason to think it was artificial." "You are saying you saw our warning beacons and thought they were natural phenomena?" Kreltok asked. "We did not know we should be looking for artificial signals," Dr. Kim explained. "We did not know you existed. When you do not know aliens are real, you do not look for alien signals." The room fell silent as both sides processed this. The Galactic Council had spent thousands of years perfecting their first contact protocols. They had warning systems and observation procedures and careful rules about when to make themselves known. They had assumed any species reaching space would eventually notice the signs. But humanity had simply looked past all of it, interpreting the signs as natural background noise. "This is absurd," Kreltok said, but his tone was more bewildered than angry. "You built a military installation directly above the Krelvox cache. That zone is marked with dozens of warning beacons. Ancient weapons are buried there. You did not see any of that?" "We saw a good location for a research station," Colonel Sanders said. "If there were warnings, we missed them. What are these ancient weapons?" Kreltok explained the Krelvox cache. Weapons from a war thousands of years ago that could destroy solar systems. The humans listened with growing alarm. "We did not know," Frank Morris said firmly. "If we had known, we never would have built there. We do not want to accidentally trigger ancient superweapons." "Clearly," Kreltok said dryly, "because you seem to go through life accidentally doing dangerous things while being completely unaware of it." Despite the tension, a few people on both sides smiled at that. The discussion continued for hours. The humans explained their perspective. They were new to space. They had no context for galactic civilization. They had thought they were alone in the universe. Every decision they made seemed reasonable from their limited viewpoint. The aliens explained their perspective. They had rules and systems that had maintained order for thousands of years. From their viewpoint, humanity was like a child running through a minefield, oblivious to danger. "The fundamental problem," Claire Wright said slowly, "is that you declared war on us for breaking rules we did not know existed, to enforce boundaries we could not see, and you are upset we did not respond to warnings delivered in ways we did not understand." "When you phrase it that way," Kreltok admitted, "it does seem problematic." "We are not malicious," Frank Morris added. "We are just ignorant." "There is a difference." Kreltok leaned back in his chair, a gesture that looked surprisingly human. "I believe you. The question is what we do now." The Council declared war. I cannot simply ignore that. Could you recommend they reconsider? Claire suggested. Explain the situation. Ask them to give us a chance to learn the rules properly. That might work, Kreltok said thoughtfully. The council is not interested in genocide. They wanted to stop your violations. If you are willing to cooperate and accept guidance, they might agree to a different approach. Over the next week, negotiations continued. Both sides worked to find a solution. The result was a proposal that Admiral Kreltok would present to the Galactic Council. Humanity would receive official diplomatic contact. They would be given a comprehensive education in galactic law and customs. Council liaisons would help them understand which zones were protected and why. In exchange, humanity would agree to follow galactic laws and relocate any structures built in forbidden zones. Additionally, humanity would be granted provisional membership in the galactic community. They would have a voice in discussions, though with limited voting rights until they fully understood the systems they were part of. Kreltok presented the proposal to the council. The debate was intense. Some species were still angry about the violations. Others were amused by the situation. Eventually, Supreme Chancellor Vexarin called for a vote. The proposal passed. The war was officially ended. Instead, humanity would become the newest species in the Galactic Council, albeit with significant supervision. News of the agreement spread across Earth. Reactions were mixed. Some people were excited about joining a galactic community. Others were nervous about alien oversight. Many were still processing the fact that aliens were real at all. The 12 military ships that had gone to face the alien fleet returned to Earth as heroes. Captain Lisa Brooks and her crews were celebrated for their courage, even though they had not fired a single shot. We were ready to fight, Lisa said in an interview, but I'm glad we got to talk instead. Turns out communication works better than missiles. Who knew? Humanity began its crash course in galactic civilization. Council liaisons arrived to teach humans about the complex network of laws, protected zones, and ancient dangers that filled the galaxy. It was overwhelming and fascinating in equal measure. The research station above the Krelvox cache was carefully dismantled. Human scientists were horrified when they learned what lay beneath them. They had been one accident away from triggering weapons that could have destroyed Earth. We are very lucky, Dr. Kim told a congressional hearing, that the galaxy is apparently full of responsible adults who stepped in before we hurt ourselves. In Austin, Derek Matthews finally got around to reading the full story about First Contact. He made it through 3 paragraphs before getting distracted by a message from his boss. Quarterly reports were due, and aliens or no aliens, business still needed attention. Amy Richardson wrote her political science paper about the First Contact incident. Her professor gave her an A, commenting that her analysis of how bureaucratic protocols had failed to recognize a real threat was excellent. Commander Jake Morrison received a commendation for eventually forwarding the alien communications up the chain of command. He accepted it politely but privately thought the medal should go to whoever. 6 cycles later, the Council fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. Admiral Kreltok stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Judgment, and studied the tactical displays showing the human star system. The system matched the intelligence reports. 8 planets, various moons, and an asteroid belt. The 3rd planet was the human homeworld, a blue and green sphere covered mostly in water. Primitive but pleasant looking. Initial scan complete, Admiral, reported his tactical officer. We are detecting multiple artificial satellites around the 3rd planet. Several space stations in orbit. Mining operations on their moon and on various asteroids. No military vessels detected. No military vessels at all? Kreltok asked. None that we can identify, sir. Their space presence appears to be entirely civilian in nature. Kreltok found that odd. Most species maintained at least some military presence in space, even primitive ones. But perhaps humans were even less advanced than the Council believed. Set course for the 3rd planet, he ordered. Standard approach speed. I want them to see us coming. The fleet began its steady advance into the system. At sublight speeds, the journey would take several days. That was intentional. The sight of 300 warships approaching would terrify any species. Most civilizations surrendered before the Council fleet even arrived. Kreltok expected the humans would do the same. On Earth, specifically at the rebuilt Arecibo Observatory facility in Puerto Rico, graduate student Linda Hayes was running routine scans of the outer solar system. She was working on her doctorate in astronomy and had pulled night shift duty, which meant monitoring automated systems while trying to stay awake. Around 3 in the morning, her computer beeped. Linda looked up from the research paper she had been reading. The screen showed unusual readings near Neptune's orbit. She pulled up the detailed data. Multiple large objects, moving in formation, decelerating as they entered the solar system. Linda frowned. Could be asteroids, but asteroids did not usually travel in neat geometric patterns. She ran the scan again to make sure it was not a computer error. The readings were consistent. She called her supervisor, Dr. Carlos Bennett. He answered on the 4th ring, sounding sleepy. This better be good, Linda. It is 3 in the morning. Sorry, Dr. Bennett, I have some weird readings. Multiple large objects entering the solar system in formation. Could you take a look? She heard him sigh. Send it to my screen. Linda transmitted the data. There was silence for a moment while Dr. Bennett reviewed it. That is odd. Could be a cluster of asteroids that got caught in Neptune's gravity and are being pulled into similar orbits. Or could be a sensor glitch. Forward it to NASA with a low priority tag. If it is important, they will follow up. Should I keep monitoring it? Sure, keep an eye on it, but it is probably nothing. Get some coffee and try to stay awake until your shift ends. The call ended. Linda created a report, flagged it as unusual but non-urgent, and sent it to NASA's tracking department. Then she went to get coffee like her supervisor suggested. At NASA headquarters in Houston, the report arrived and was automatically sorted into a queue. The agency was extremely busy. A manned mission to Mars was scheduled to launch in 3 weeks. 2 important satellites needed to be deployed. 3 current missions required constant monitoring. The unusual readings from Arecibo were added to a list of items to be reviewed when someone had time. That might be next week, or the week after. NASA operated on priorities, and unidentified objects near Neptune were not high on the list unless they posed an immediate threat to Earth. In Washington, D.C., Senator Greg Hamilton arrived at his office at 7 in the morning. His assistant, Julie, handed him a thick briefing packet as he walked in. Morning, Senator. Here's your daily intelligence brief. Greg took the packet and started reading as he walked to his desk. Most of it was routine. Updates on various military operations, economic reports, intelligence on foreign governments. Buried on page 47 was a small footnote about an alleged communication from an alien council several weeks ago. The intelligence community had investigated and concluded it was likely a hoax or possibly a sophisticated hacking attempt. No action required. Greg skipped over it entirely. He had budget meetings today and a vote on infrastructure spending. He did not have time to read about every weird thing that crossed intelligence desks. In California, civilian astronomer Paul Zhang was having better luck noticing the fleet. Paul ran a popular YouTube channel where he discussed astronomy and space news. He had his own telescope and spent most clear nights scanning the sky. He had picked up the same readings as Arecibo, plus additional data from his own observations. The objects were definitely ships. They were large, moving in perfect formation, and they were heading toward Earth. Paul created a video about his findings. He titled it Possible Alien Fleet Detected in Solar System and uploaded it to his channel. The video was 20 minutes long and included all his data and calculations. The video got 14 views in the first hour. Most of those were his regular subscribers. In the comments, 2 people made jokes about him needing to spend less time looking at screens. One person asked if he was okay. Another subscriber left an encouraging comment saying the production quality was good, even if the content was a bit out there this time. The algorithm that determined which videos got promoted on the platform looked at engagement rates and view duration. Paul's video about alien ships performed worse than his usual content. The algorithm decided not to recommend it to anyone new. Within an hour, the video was effectively buried, visible only to people who specifically searched for it. Paul was disappointed but not surprised. His videos about actual confirmed space discoveries usually did much better. He figured people just were not interested in speculation about aliens. Aboard the Eternal Judgment, Admiral Krell Tak watched the tactical display as his fleet crossed into the inner solar system. They passed the orbit of Jupiter. Still no response from Earth. Are we certain they can detect us? He asked his tactical officer. Admiral, we are 300 capital ships. Even their primitive sensors should see us clearly. We are not hiding. Then why no response? No communications. No military alert. No change in their routine activities. The tactical officer had no answer. It was unprecedented. Every species the Council had ever encountered reacted to an approaching fleet. Even if they could not fight back, they at least tried to communicate. Fear, anger, pleas for mercy. Something. But the humans seemed completely oblivious. Perhaps they do not view us as a threat, suggested the communications officer. Perhaps they think we are natural phenomena. 300 ships in perfect formation? Kreltok said skeptically. No species is that ignorant. But as the hours passed and Earth continued its routine activities, Kreltok began to wonder. The planet's communication network showed no signs of alarm, no emergency broadcasts, no government alerts. Civilian life continued normally. Run a scan of their information networks, Kreltok ordered. I want to know if they have detected us and simply chosen not to respond. The scan took an hour. When the results came back, they were baffling. Admiral, there is mention of our declaration of war in their networks, the communications officer reported, but it appears to be treated as entertainment, or possibly as deception. Their population does not believe it is real. What about our fleet? Surely they can see us now. There are reports from some of their observation stations, but these reports are being ignored or dismissed. The humans do not appear to take their own scientists seriously. Kreltok felt something he rarely experienced. Confusion. Are you telling me that we declared war, sent a fleet of 300 ships, and the humans think it is all fiction? That appears to be the case, Admiral. Kreltok sat back in his command chair. In his long military career, he had fought aggressive species that attacked on sight. He had fought defensive species that hid and prepared traps. He had fought desperate species that threw everything they had into futile last stands. But he had never fought a species that simply did not notice they were being invaded. The fleet continued its steady advance toward Earth. Kreltok decided to proceed with caution. This situation was too strange. Either the humans were incredibly primitive, even more than the Council believed, or this was some kind of elaborate trap. Increase sensor sweeps, he ordered. Watch for any hidden weapons or fleets, and prepare a final warning message. If they do not respond to that, we will have to assume they are incapable of understanding and proceed with conquest. The fleet crossed the orbit of Mars. Earth hung before them now, clearly visible. A blue jewel in space, beautiful and fragile, and completely unaware that 300 warships were about to arrive on its doorstep.